So this is for assignment 1 point perspective. This is how you're going to be constructing your own created room using a vanishing point and a horizon line. Also, the point of this assignment is to be able to take things from the real world that you find online or actually in a room that you see and put them into the drawing that you've chosen and into the perspective of that drawing. So like if you find a chair on Wayfair that you like, but it's only showing the front angle and you need it to be the side angle in your drawing, then this assignment is what that's for, to help you understand how to take something you see and turn it so that it's in the correct perspective. So we're gonna go step by step. I'm gonna try to go exactly step by step with the instructions that you'll see that go with this, that correspond with this assignment. The first step is to draw a rectangle about 2/3 of the way up your page. I like to do mine a little bit off center, about 1.5 inches long by maybe 1 inch tall. So I'm gonna use my ruler to do that. The next step you're gonna wanna do is think about how tall you want this wall to be, because this is going to be your back wall of your interior. So I think mine is going to be, we'll just say 10 feet, because that makes it easier for the math. So if that's true, then I'm gonna go ahead and divide this wall up evenly between tick marks so that it equals 10 feet. So if this is the middle, that means 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And then I can go ahead and do that down here too. So you want them to be equal and identical measurements. So I'm gonna go back and fix mine so that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to do the exact same measurement along the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that means the width of my room is 12 feet. The height of it is 10, and this can be whatever you decide it to be. I'm just using 10 and 12 because it's easy measurements. So we know that the horizon line is our eye level, and 5 feet is the most comfortable eye level. 6 feet is good if you're gonna do specific measurements for furniture, because your measurements will be easily divisible by 12 at 6 feet, but 5 is more comfortable, so that's what I'm gonna do. So what I'm gonna do is go up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and make that my horizon line. So that's just gonna be a horizontal line through that tick mark across your back wall. And then your vanishing point is gonna lie somewhere on that horizon line. So if you're making it up, you can just make it up. So I'm gonna make mine right here, just a little off center because center is boring. Then you're gonna use your vanishing point to connect to the corners of your back wall. Okay, so now I'm gonna get rid of the things I don't need, which are all of these guidelines. You can also get rid of the horizon line because you don't need it right now. Now that you've figured out where your vanishing point is, because it lies somewhere on the horizon line, we're good to go. All right, so now we've got a back wall, a ceiling, 2 side walls, and a floor. So a good gauge for this is to make sure that your back wall is high enough so that you don't see so much ceiling, but you see more floor. Unless you're going to be showing something really fancy on the ceiling or featuring something interesting like a chandelier or a fancy ceiling treatment, because you want the viewer to feel like they could stand in this room. And if we're seeing too much ceiling, then it's almost like we would be standing up against the back wall because there wouldn't be much floor space. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is use the back wall, the vanishing point, and the tick marks to find where we would put a doorway. So a doorway is typically 7 to 8 feet. So I'm going to choose 8 feet. So if we know this is 5, 6, 7, 8, and then I'm going to pull, using my vanishing point, a line through that tick mark and out onto my wall. And so this will serve as the top of your doorway. So now all I have to do is figure out where on this wall I want my door to go and connect the floor to that height line of your door with a vertical line. And however wide you want it to be, you're going to do another vertical line. So now I have a door I'm going to get rid of my guidelines because I don't need them. And so now we have a door, but we need to show some depth. So I'm going to come over to this corner right here, and since we know that in a one-point perspective, the horizontals are always straight, true horizontals, I'm going to come from this corner with a horizontal about the thickness that I want my wall to be, and then I'm going to do the same thing here at that corner, and then I'm going to connect them with a vertical. So, but now I need to see the underside of that wall, the thickness of the underside. So I'm just going to connect my vanishing point to this outer corner. And now I have the depth of the side wall and the depth of the underside of the doorway. So now I have a doorway instead of just a hole. Now, if you want it to feel more comfortable and make more sense, you can get rid of the line that's underneath the doorway so that it feels like this room just flows into the next room. Next thing we're going to do is the same thing, except we're going to do a window. So you do all the same things. You figure out where your measurements are for your window. So let's say that my window comes 4 feet from the bottom, or excuse me, 3 feet from the floor. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to use my vanishing point to pull through that 3rd foot tick mark. Just like this, and add onto the wall. And then let's say that it is 3 feet from the ceiling as well. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now I have the bottom of my window and the top part of my window, but now I just need to know where my window is going to go. So just like we did with the doorway, we're going to connect this line to that line with a vertical. So I'm going to put my window here, and I'm going to end it here. Now I'm going to get rid of my guidelines because I don't need them anymore. Okay, and just like we did the underside and the side wall of the doorway, we need to do that with the window too. So because things that are closer to us are bigger and taller and fatter and wider, we know that if this is that wide, then this, where the window is, because it's all one wall, should be that thickness, but a little bit thicker, a little bit wider because it's closer to us. So I'm just going to measure. So that's 1/4 of an inch, this thickness right here. So 1/4 of an inch plus 1/8 of an inch is probably good enough. So I'm going to come out with a horizontal from that corner, come out with a horizontal from that corner, connect them with a vertical, just like we did with the doorway, making sure that they're even. And then here and here are going to connect back to the vanishing point. So now we have a window that has a side wall, an underside, and a ledge. Now, if I wanted to put trim or a frame around the window, I would just continue doing the same thing with the vanishing point. So a line here connecting back to the vanishing point, and then the same thickness up here. So about there. And then connecting with a vertical, the same thickness as it is right here. And then again, since we know this is closer to us, it's going to be wider, so whatever thickness this is, this needs to be that plus a little bit more, so about there. So I'm going to get rid of the things I don't need. So, and you can get even more creative with, like, if it's that kind of trim that has fancy edges and things like that, you can add a few detail lines that are really thin and delicate to give it kind of a trim, and then give it a horizontal here, a horizontal there, and connect those with a vertical. So now you have a thickness to that edge. So the great thing about glass is it helps to show depth. And the way that you do that is you can kind of come in here and draw lightly and organic some trees or whatever. But see how delicate my line quality is? And you can even go back on top of it with your kneaded eraser to pick up some of that graphite if you feel like it's too dark. And then on top of that drawing, you're going to come back and do those window lines, so that we see that there's a window pane there and then there's something beyond that window. Let's do the floor line. So we know the measurements are 10 and 12, so those equal feet. So what we can do so that we understand the flooring is we use our vanishing point to pull through each one of these tick marks out onto our floor. So let's do that real quick. Okay, so now you have what could be considered a wooden floor. If you wanted it to stay wooden, you could come in every so often and do a horizontal line here and there, maybe back here. You see how that starts to look like wood flooring? If you want to do tile, I can show you how to do that too. So what you're going to want to do is start in your bottom left corner, put a dot, and then come out here on the floor where what's called the station point, which is basically, you can equate it to a standing point. So if you were actually in this room, where would you be standing? So I think we'd be standing kind of about here. So I'm going to take that and move over to my wall and put a dot there. So if this corner wall line were a little bit longer, this is my station point, I'd move over here and put the next dot there, and then I would connect the two dots with a very faint diagonal line. Okay, so now everywhere your vanishing point lines that came out onto the floor connects with this new diagonal line, that's where you're going to put a horizontal line. So right here, these two make an X. So I'm going to put a horizontal line there. And then right here, these two make an X. And then here. Okay, so now I have a grid. So this grid is a foot for each square this direction and a foot out onto the floor in this direction too. So if you knew that you wanted to put a sofa or some kind of furniture so many feet from this wall, you could count 1, 2, 3, however many, 4, and so many feet from the back wall, 1, 2, 3, 4, however many, and then you would know that that sofa went right there in that spot or piece of furniture.